Good morning, everyone. This is Britt Simon. So I thought I'd jump on. No notice, no particular reason to do so, but just jump on to give people an update. Last few videos, I've always started with a particular topic that I know I'm going to get questions about, which is DV 2020 and DV 2021. So let me start there, and then by the time I've answered that, I should imagine I'll have some questions. Let's just make sure I didn't check my audio. So morning. Thank you very much. Could you just confirm that you're hearing me? Like somebody put a note that you're hearing me okay. That would be great. Hey, Lotta. Hey, Michael, Becky, lots of people. Yeah. Greetings from Ethiopia. That's lovely. All right. So DV20 and DV 2021. Thank you, Sampath. Thank you. So DV 2020 and DV 2021. We're still in a holding pattern. We're waiting for the appeals. There's nothing much to be said on that. We don't know, as I've said a number of times, we don't know when the appeal result will come through. The panel of judges that met on September 16th have to make their decision, announce their decision. There could be a subsequent appeal after that, although I think that's less likely. And we don't know what the government's reaction will be to a positive outcome if that's what we get. So we just have to wait on DV 2020 and 21. There's not much that we can say about that. So anyway, let me answer some questions. This is always a classic when someone says, I've got a quick question, and then writes a book. I lost access to the email address I used to submit the DS260. Do you recommend unlocking the form to change the email address, or can I wait until the case number is current to actually check this website? Trying to understand details. Okay. You don't have to unlock your DS260 for the to change the email address in this case. The email that is sent out, when the 2NL is sent out, the email simply says, go check your ESC page, the entrance status check, which is where you originally saw the congratulations, you are selected letter, right? That letter becomes the actual 2NL with the interview details. In other words, the email that you receive doesn't have any of the interview details, the date or anything like that. So there's really no need to unlock. The only tricky bit that you're going to have is that you'll have to check the ESC page when you think you might have received the interview notification, right? You won't actually get it, so because it will go to the email address that you don't have access to. But you can unlock and change that, but you don't need to, is the honest answer in that case. All right. How has life been so far in the US? What's the best state to live in your opinion? What a great question. It's such a difficult. It's a great question, but it's a difficult question. I live in California. I live just outside the San Francisco, or I'm in the Bay Area. I'm just outside San Francisco. Where I live is a central hub for technology companies, software engineering, that sort of thing. And so it's buzzing around here with, with those sort of jobs. Although just recently, there's been a number of companies that have laid off people. But that means that you've got highly paid software engineers. You can get young software engineers straight out of college, essentially, earning 150K average, right? You can get experienced people earning 300 to 500K to 500K a year. So what that means is that, and frankly, you can have people earning more than that. What that means is that you have, high prices of cost of living, etc. And so if you're in software engineering and you're earning that sort of money, great. You're going to have a fantastic life here, and you'll be able to switch around from company to company, and your career could be awesome. Yes, you'll pay a couple of $1 million for a house in the area where I live, but you'll have that money. So it's amazing. Now, you could go and live in Iowa or Utah or Texas or wherever the hell you want, and you won't be paying $2 million for a house. but you'll be earning significantly less, right? So, so you have to weigh up the sort of the cost of living, etc., and where you want to live. I always say to people, don't go somewhere that's too cheap, too inexpensive, because you have to find somewhere where there's plenty of jobs, where the economy is good. You don't want high unemployment. You don't want to be, moving into a disadvantaged area. But that doesn't mean you have to move to the most expensive place in the country, like I did. There's a balance between the two, right? Consider what you want to do in terms of what hobbies you've got. How do you want to spend your time? What sports teams what sports do you like to watch? What sports teams would you like to support? Do you like sunny weather? Do you like beaches? Do you like mountains to climb? Do you like hiking? Whatever you like in life, there's something for you in America, in one of the states, in several of the states, in lots of locations. So you choose some of the things that you can't change first and foremost. For me and my family, that meant coming to a place where there's sunshine more often than not. And that's why we're in California, in all honesty, because we had a lovely life in the UK. We were able to travel all throughout Europe. We own houses in Europe, in various places. And so, we were able to, we had a very nice life there too. But the weather was crappy in the UK. And so there was no point in us coming to America and living in Chicago or somewhere, or, somewhere where it's going to be bloody horribly cold half the year. So for us, we came to California. So ultimately you choose where you want to be based on a number of factors. It's a difficult discussion, or decision rather. It's a discussion that I wish I had more time for, to coach you through. But everybody's decision is going to be different depending on your setup, your circumstances, your career, your family, your interests, your hobbies, right? It's going to be different for everybody. And then how's my life been so far? Well, it's better. I mean, I was doing well in the UK. Financially, I was doing well in the UK. Family-wise, I was doing well, etc. But it's just a little bit better in the States. You earn more money. You can do more fun things. You can plan towards your retirement. It's just a bit better in the USA. That's basically it. Okay. When is the last year for the DV program? Every year. I've been doing this 10 years. Every year, there are rumors of the DV program being shut down imminently, like the next year. This will be the last year. It never comes true. The reason for that is there are lots of politicians that would like to change immigration law in general. And one of the things that they look at, and they, as Greg Siskind put it recently, the DV lottery tends to have a target on its back. It's seen as an unfair program. It's seen as not valuable to the USA. It's a very small part of the overall immigration budget. So DV is only 5% of all the immigrants that come every year. There's about 1 million immigrants, but between 1 and 1.2 million immigrants in a typical year, and DV is 55,000, right? So it's 5%. It's 1 in 20 immigrants. It's not that important in the big picture. But some people would rather see it replaced with something that's more points-based, more skills-based, for example, and there is some logic to that. But the reality is, to get political agreement on anything to do with immigration is very difficult. And so in order to make significant change, even to remove the DV program and replace it with something else, that would take agreement, which is not really very easy to do in Washington, D.C. So it's unlikely to be changed, I would say, for the foreseeable future. But that could change relatively quickly. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But there is no particular last year defined right now. Okay, I'm going to try and speed up with some of my answers. Can you show as a sample of 2NL how the Gmail comes in the interview appointment letter? It's just the email says check your ESC page. That's it. That's all the email says. And the ESC page you can Google. You can Google what the 2NL appointment letter looks like if you really want that. Cesar, got your visa in October. Yeah, I remember that. In Lima's office. What's going on in Lima? What's going on in Peru at the moment? We'll travel to the US in February with the entire family. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for the advice. Good luck, Cesar. Let me know if I can help in any way. I'll have some advices for you, I think. I thought about creating some videos which were quick tips on how to make the move to the USA, how to find a place, and I'll do this one for sure. There's 2 or 3 videos that I've got planned, and I will release. One is how to find accommodation in the early part of staying here in the USA, which will be very important to you, Cesar, if you don't have family. The other thing was just about frying pans, would you believe? Buy iron frying pans. Don't buy all this non-stick crap. So, stupid example of something I'd like to talk about, but, it just occurred to me the other day as I'm cooking, the money we wasted on all this, fancy cookware, and it was all nonsense stuff. So, don't waste your money when you come here. So it's kind of a metaphor for all the things you can waste your money on, and I'll explain more carefully about that. I live on my mattress, my bed. I remember we spent over $5,000 on the mattress. It's like you can get a mattress for like $200 or $300. You can spend $500, $800 and get a very good one. We just I don't know what came over me, but we spent $5,000 on a mattress. Crazy. Okay. Can I explain the exception specialty Morocco? Okay. Congratulations to Morocco with how things are going in the World Cup, by the way, and bad luck to the UK or to England. But the exception in the visa bulletin. There are certain countries which have a high number of selectees, and most of those selectees are dedicated to one embassy. Nepal is going to be the most obvious example, has been for a long time, and Egypt is another example. So in Nepal, I'll just take Nepal as an example. They have, let's say, 3,800 selectees. They have a high number of those selectees apply for the next stage of processing, and a very high number of those are all based in Kathmandu. So if they sort of allowed Asia Visa Bulletin to control Nepal, it would mean there would be a flood of Nepalese applicants going too fast to the embassy. It doesn't allow them to plan out their progress because the Nepalese cases are all concentrated in the lower case numbers. You can say the same thing for Morocco and Egypt, that they've got a high density of cases, high density of winners, concentrated in the lower case numbers. And so you have to find some way of sort of rationing out or slowing down the pace of interviews at those single consular offices, right? And the way they do it is the accept Morocco, accept Egypt, or whatever it might be. And that's simply to spread out the processing over a longer time. So Africa's highest case number might be, let's say, 75,000. I'm just using an example. But all the Moroccan cases might be concentrated at 35,000 and below. So if they allowed the visa bulletin to move as quickly for all African countries, then Egypt and Morocco and those other countries which have condensed number of winners in the early case numbers and a very high case number, that would be unmanageable, and it would actually hold back the rest of Africa. So in order to let Africa go fast, they have some exception countries, and same thing for Asia with Iran and Nepal. Okay, so that's basically the reasoning behind it, but it's nothing to worry about. A high case number in Africa is not the same as a high case number in Egypt or Morocco. They're different number ranges. Kisraw, I see you often on the channel, so and I see you asking questions. I recognize the name. Is the DV registration photo 3 years before the registration, and it has a little editing? Will it have a bigger problem? Please clarify. People worry too much about their DV photos. As long as you followed the basic rules, you took a new photo, you have a clear background. Don't worry if your head is, if the head is supposed to be 70% of the image or whatever the percentages is, and yours is 72% or something. Don't worry about that nonsense. Don't worry about, if the color is not exactly white in the background. Just relax about the photos, right? As long as you didn't do something stupid, like take a picture of a donkey's butt, then generally speaking, people are not refused for their photos. If you reused an old photo, that can cause refusal, but it's rare. And if you reused a photo that you used for a previous lottery entry, again, that can cause refusal, but I've never heard of even one case of refusal on that basis. Okay, so and that rule was enhanced in 2017. So a lot of years have gone by without those sort of refusals. Okay. What is my prediction? I have a web page that talks about predictions, and the ultimate thing is I don't predict. I trust you, great Prit Simon. It's always enjoyed hearing from you. Thank you. Love from the South Sudanese. Awesome. My case number is 11K from Nepal. Which month? You're asking for a prediction. I'm not predicting. Hi, Britt. Is the Ghana Embassy working on DV lotteries 2022-23 winners? Yes. They're not working on DV 2022, if that's what you mean. But yeah, they are doing interviews for DV 2023 cases. The problem is I don't know how many interviews there are and how many cases they've got. So I don't know if there's a backlog building up or not, but we'll know more in just 2 or 3 weeks' time. At the beginning of January, we'll have the SEAC data, and we'll be able to see, some more information then. Okay, so we'll see what things look like. Do I think number 38K can get an interview in Cairo Embassy? I don't know. I don't know what the highest case number is for Egypt. If you're an Egyptian, you don't mention, but I don't know what the highest case number is. If you are an Egyptian, then case number 38K could be a relatively high number. That would be equivalent to, let's say, a 65K number in the rest of Africa, something like that, right? But I don't know exactly the numbers, so you'll have to wait and see. I can't predict for you. DV 2023, 50K AF. I've submitted the DS260 with my husband as my dependent, but I want to remove my husband from the application and go alone. Will the US Embassy have a problem with that? They won't. Firstly, you can't remove the husband from the application. You can't remove the DS260. You can't delete the DS260 for your spouse. Once you've created the DS260 for the spouse, you can't remove it, or for a child, you can't remove it. What you can do, though, is you can unlock that form and just leave it unlocked. And you can also just tell the embassy that your spouse won't be turning up. Now, is that a problem? Not really. If you're the winner, you're entitled to go alone. You don't have to take your husband, right? However, you may be more at risk of becoming a public charge because the two of you are not going, only one of you is going. So make sure you have a way of answering that question about public charge, which means having your own savings, having good job prospects, and if not, having an I-134, which is support from a resident of the USA. Okay, think about that public charge thing more than anything else. That's the biggest risk. Can one present an I-134 from a person different to the host? Yes, you can. The I-134 is a financial sponsorship. It's got nothing to do with the person you live with. Okay. So AF9K, when do you think the latest I would expect my 2NL? I don't know. I'm not doing predictions. Good evening. Good evening to you. When 2NL is going to be sent? I have a low case number. I didn't receive the email. Yeah. So I'm not going to predict when you're going to get your 2NL, but some people are still waiting for their DS260s to be processed, and therefore, even though they're current, they're waiting. Now, just to talk some words about DS260 processing, it is always going to be the case that there will be the speed of processing between two similar cases is not always the same, right? I try to let people know that at every opportunity I can, because people think that, oh, well, my buddy submitted on May 17th and I submitted on May 16th and his form was processed faster than mine. How could that be possible? Well, it's possible because maybe your name, maybe you traveled to the Middle East, or maybe you're a nuclear rocket scientist, or maybe your name just happened to match someone on the terrorism list, right? And your buddy's name didn't match anyone, and so he sailed through quickly. Your case needed longer time to do the background checking, right? And so there are cases now that were submitted in May that still haven't been processed. Meanwhile, there are cases in June and even July that have been processed, right? And so I'm beginning to see more cases from July being processed. First of all, it was just like the first week or so. And then I've seen a couple of cases now from later in July. So they're going to move through DS260 processing in July fairly quickly, not because they're doing more work, but because most of the submissions were made in May and June. And there's less submissions and therefore less work to do on the July submissions. So we're going to see them moving through quite quickly now that they're into July submissions. But there will still be some people in May and June submissions that won't be processed yet. And if you submitted in July or August or September, then you'll have to wait a little bit longer. Okay, that's just the way it works. Dear Simon, I predict this VB will be 20K for Asia. Prove me wrong and predict by your own. What a stupid question. Why am I going to prove you wrong? The only thing that will prove you wrong is when the VB is released. Okay. And you know, it's a pointless game, frankly. It'll be released so it'll be released this week. You just have to wait for that. I'm not prove you wrong. Oh dear. Hi Brett, when filling the DS260, when going for the interview, do I have to go with proof of residence in different places I've lived since 16 years? No, not normally. They may do additional background checks to check what you said. But no, they don't normally ask you for proof of that. That's not a normal thing, okay? DV 2021 update I gave right at the beginning. Please rewind. Let's just see. Hi, Britt, can I check the status of my DS260 if I sent to KCC, or that is only for NVC? NVC have nothing to do with DV lottery cases, not a single thing. When it says in SEAC, your case is at MVC, it doesn't mean it's at MVC. Your case has never been at MVC. So there's nothing to do with MVC, right? There is no part of the process that's to do with MVC. That's probably a surprise to some of the lawyers that don't know what they're talking about. Because it shows up in valid case number, and I'm concerned about that. That's because DV 2023 cases are not loaded into the SEAC system until, or not available for us to search, rather, until January 1. That's the same for every case. It's not to do with your case, it's every case, right? So just relax, hold your horses, and wait 3 weeks, okay? Relax, everything happens in time. Long time don't hear about 21. Yeah, I talked about 21 at the beginning. Submitted DS260 21st of July. Still didn't get to 2NL. Can I get my 2NL in January? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how quickly your DS260 is going to be processed. So you'll have to wait. But you waited, what, nearly going on for 3 months, certainly 2 months, 2.5 months or something until you submitted. That caused you a delay, It's not a surprise. Case number is EU 2000 for Russia, DS260 September 8th, but I haven't received a 2NL yet. And you won't, Alex, for a long time because you submitted in September. Okay, so don't worry about it. It's not like you lose your chance. They'll get to you, but you'll have to wait. I should imagine you'll probably be processed your form will be processed, let's say, by the end of January, roughly, your DS260. Which means that you could be scheduled for interview in the February batch, perhaps maybe the March batch. The February interviews are for February, March, April, are for April, okay? And then March scheduling is concerns May, okay? So that's how late your interview is going to be because you delayed submission of your DS260, okay? Not a problem though. It's, it's fine. There's really not a problem. You just have to relax. No, already answered that. Only 10K above, not taking embassy. I don't know what that means. Let's see. AF 19,000 something submitted DS260 on the 1st of November. Interview location is Bridgetown, Embassy Barbados, because I'm currently working there with residential. I don't know why you waited so long to submit your DS260. But again, just as I spoke about for another person, it probably means that you won't be interviewed until about May, probably, because you submitted so late. And that's okay. Doesn't really matter. The green cards issued in May are just as good as the ones issued in January. But it's no big deal. But at the same time, the delay is of your own making. Okay, so relax. How will the RAISE Act and merit-based immigration law affect the DV lottery program in the near future? I don't try and speculate about laws that haven't been passed because, as I say, I've been doing this for 10 years. And in those 10 years, every single year, without fail, there's a bill that's introduced to try and stop the DV lottery program or to enhance it or something. There's always something, but none of them became law. And so, we'll have to wait and see. And I don't want to speculate about laws that are not laws yet, because it's just, I could waste all my days talking about that. Thanks for sharing your great information. Is 2023 a good year to be optimistic about 14K case numbers? It's fine. Although you don't mention the region. I'm from Iran. Okay. From Iran, definitely go through AP. Yeah, okay. So 14K from Iran is probably not too bad, but hopefully you submitted your DS-260 early, because you need as much time as possible to go through the AP process. So generally speaking, if you're from Iran and you interview much later than May or June, then you've got significant risk, because the length of time that it takes to background check your case after the interview is lengthy. And it's particularly common amongst male Iranians. Okay, so hopefully you'll be current and processed, and and you can be scheduled. I mean, you should be current by then, and hopefully you'll get like a May or maybe even an April interview or something. Fingers crossed for you. Salute us from Cuba. So we're gonna winner DV 2020. Okay, so. I spoke about Michaelin. Interesting name. I spoke about this right at the beginning. By the way, English is my preferred language, please. I speak Spanish, I speak French, German, and English, but I prefer to speak in Spanish because more people understand. In English because more people understand. I spoke about DV 2020 and 2021 right at the beginning. So you just have to wait until that comes through, right? I saw a question here. Is Virginia a good place for the fresh start? It's okay. I'd just be you got to be careful where in Virginia. Look very carefully. Go to a website called areavibes.com. There are some cheap places to live in Virginia because they're shitty, but there are some other nice places to live in Virginia. And it's cold in the winter, so have a real good look. Decide where you want to be, but only move to a place like that if you've got a good opportunity ahead of you. Be very clear about that. Okay. Alex says also had to leave the country to not get drafted. Yeah. Since cases from Russia are processed by Warsaw Embassy, and since I can't get Schengen visa via Kazakhstan, what should I do? I really don't know how to answer these questions from Russians that can't travel. I would only say, if you can't get a Schengen visa to enter Europe, then you need to go somewhere else where you can travel to, and I don't know where that is. And if I were you, if you're just cooling your heels in some place, I would move to some other place where you could be able to stay there for some time, and then modify your interview to that place, right? And I would do that sooner rather than later. How easy that is, I don't know. I feel for you. It's a terrible situation, but but that's all you can do. I don't have any sort of special insight into what you can do, Alex. How can I get someone to host me if I win? I've said before, I have no idea how the host network thing really happens. I think it's probably someone, it's better if you can be hosted by someone that you know, or know through someone an acquaintance of a friend or something. But other than that, I have no idea how people find hosts. It's not something that Europeans would normally do. So I don't know. If I have a B1, B2 visa, can I do AOS in the US rather than do interview in my country? It's possible. It's just not easy, because when you go to the US on a B1, B2, Firstly, you must not have intention to adjust status or to stay there. So you have to wait for some time. While you're there, you can't break any rules, like working, for example. You can't work because that will screw you up. You mustn't go out of status, and the status period on a B1, B2 is pretty small. It can be 3 or 6 months, and that may not be enough time for you to actually start the process. So it's technically it's possible, but it's probably generally not a good idea unless you absolutely have to. If there's such a risk for your case, if you don't do that, or for you personally, if you don't do that, that you've got no other choice. That's the only way I would recommend you do it on a B1, B2, because it's very, very tight in terms of timing, mainly. Maxut, do you have any hope for the D? I already talked about that. Yeah, I've already talked about this right at the beginning. I spoke about it. Please, can someone write to KCC what is causing the delay of DS260 processing? Submitted my form in May, unlocked and resubmitted in September, and still processing AF 28,000 accurate. Firstly, you're not even current yet. So why you're getting yourself worked up, I don't know. Secondly, it just takes time, right? Just relax. There is nothing you need to worry about in terms of DS260 processing. They won't tell you specifically why your case is taking longer to process than somebody else's case. They won't ever tell you that, right? But there are various reasons why that can happen. But you just have to be calm and relax and wait. And probably by the time you've been current, you may get current on the next visa bulletin, but shouldn't be too much longer before you're current and processed. All right, just relax. Tranqui baranqui, as my family in Spain would say. Thank you for all your support. EU 33,000. We renewed our kids' passports. Should we unlock and update their? No, I wouldn't unlock for that. Don't unlock. Sorry, I'm reading this one. Don't unlock to update their DS260 with the new passport details for kids. There's no real need to do that. It's not significant to your case. It doesn't mean that they can or can't be processed or whatever. It's not that big of a deal, right? And so for that, because it's trivial, you're better off doing that at the interview. Oh, here's the new passports. No big deal, right? Rafula, January is near, so we have to wait and hear more about the statistics and embassy capacity and anything related to TV. Keep it up in 23. Yeah, absolutely. We'll have some more information in a few weeks' time. Oh, that's nice, Imelda. Imelda, congratulations. You're in the USA because of the information you share. DV 2022, that was a hell of a year. But congratulations and welcome to the USA, Imelda. And I hope things go well for you. It's not easy, but good luck. Any idea if the consulate in Qatar is taking interviews or the World Cup could affect the order of things? I don't think the World Cup affects anything. As far as I know, they're working normally. So I don't think the World Cup affects anything. Jalali in the USA now, another one. That's awesome. Congratulations. Good luck, Jalal. Do we have hope? Oh, I've talked about this one. I think you asked that earlier, and I've already answered it. When will US CIS demand previous tax documents? From memory, and I'm not the AOS expert, someone's mum is in the immigration forum, right? But from memory, I think we had to show tax documents. I don't think it was sent with the package. I think we took it to the interview. We were asked about it, I believe. So we had to show that we had filed tax. I did AOS through DV Lottery. And that was in 2014. I think we showed the tax documents that we had at that time, although, no, hang on, that would have been the first year. No, we had to show them in the naturalization process, not the original. So I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty sure you'll be asked for tax documents though. So definitely take them to the interview and check with someone's mum, who I hope you know, about whether you should include them in your package or not. I don't know off the top of my head. Nairobi. Thank you, Ronald. Talked about good luck and go in 2021 and 2020. Is it possible to maintain the green card status while working in another country? Yes, you can. You can go abroad. So I'm an American now. I can go abroad, work abroad for a few months, etc., and come back. However, both naturalized citizens such as me or a green card holder have to report tax on worldwide income. Okay, so you can go abroad and you can earn money, etc., and you may not pay tax in that country, but you will be taxed on that income in the USA. Okay, so please just bear that in mind. It may alter your perception of whether that's interesting or not to go abroad. There is a foreign earned income exclusion in the tax code, so you can exclude some income from abroad, but it's not a great deal of money. I think it's about 100K or something, which actually for a lot of people would probably be plenty of money, but it's not much if you've got a contract that you're going to work in, I don't know, Dubai for a year or something. You can easily sort of beat that sort of money, right? Depending on what you do, obviously. 71 AF, Embassy of South Africa, you've not received your date of your interview. It's pretty normal. A lot of people haven't received their interview dates. You don't mention when you submitted your DS-260, but it's probably that your DS-260 is probably still being processed, Simfa. Can I pass the interview without an I-134? I have a sponsor, but he can't fill out the form for me. I'm single BZW. BZW? Single BZW. What's BZW? What's that mean? By Z way. By Z way. You guys in your tech speak. You're funny. Okay, so can you pass the interview without an I-134? Yes, you can. The COs don't always ask for an I-134. When they do, you have to provide it, right? Or you have to provide other proof, which could be money you've saved up. If you've got at least $10,000 per person on the application, then that may be enough to satisfy the CO. If you've got a job or career prospects, if you're a programmer, for example, and I'm just picking on programming because that's what I know, but if you're a programmer and the CO thinks, oh, you're going to find a job straight away, no problem, then they're not going to be quite so concerned about an I-134. But if you're a general laborer, for example, you're not particularly highly skilled in anything, and not highly educated or whatever else, then the CEO might think, oh, this person's going to struggle a bit. I don't want this person to become a public charge. So therefore, I'm going to ask for an I-134 to see who is going to be helping this person settle down in the USA. So you don't always need an I-134, although some embassies use it more than others, right? So, but personally, I would always recommend you have one. I got one, right? I mean, I had one. I had extensive cash savings, more than enough to support myself. But I also obtained an I-134. It's just like, why wouldn't you prepare for everything, right? And I was showing hundreds of thousands of dollars in bank accounts, etc. When I was going through my process, but I still got an I-134. So why wouldn't you? Why, if you can get it, just do it. Okay, so is it fair that an embassy like Algeria processes more than 250 visas in October, and another like Cairo only process 50 visas? I'll think KCC need to control the process more fairly. Well, I mean, this is not necessarily a fair process. No part of the law says this has to be a fair process. I don't know why you think that a question like that is even a reasonable question, to be honest. Life isn't fair, dude. All right. And, Cairo will, in most years, beat other embassies in terms of processing. Is that fair? Is it fair that, many Iranians go through months of AP afterwards? Is it fair that Ghanaians who are perfectly qualified go to their interviews and get refused more often than any other embassy in the world? Is it fair that British people are not allowed to enter the DV lottery? I mean, why are you asking me about fair? There's no there is no. It's a weird thing that people think that everything has to be fair. Life isn't fair. Okay, don't even think about it being fair. And as for your example of what you think is unfair, that's like you don't know any of the facts, and you don't know why that is, and you're trying to get me to say whether it's fair or not. I mean, it's just really silly. I'm sorry, Ahmed, but that's silly. Sunet updates DV 2023 interview Addis Ababa. I don't know. I don't have any data at the moment. That's the problem. I can't give you any data on any specific embassy. So when I was answering Ahmed's question a few seconds ago, he's got information he thinks is accurate, but he doesn't know it's accurate. I mean, if he's talking about issuances, which is the official data, you know, that's the only information we've got. That doesn't mean that they were the only people interviewed. You know, it's all a bit, you know, it's all a bit unknown at the moment, right? We don't really know at the moment. We'll know more in January. Freddie Kana Bonte, what a great name. Submitted DS260. Oh, we've already done this one, Freddie. We talked about that. You're in Somalia and you didn't receive any massage yet. You should go and get a massage. They're great. It's really good. You want a really strong one. You want a really strong massage, right? No, I know. I think you mean a message. Your number is 23K. There is no place. There is no region which is current for up to 23,000, right? So you're from Somalia. Your AF region that's only current up to 20. So even if your DS260 is processed, there is no possibility that you would have got a 2NL message or even a massage up to now. Okay, so relax, wait. My birth certificate, this is from Randall, says my birth certificate has 2 holes in the side made by a 2-hole punch, not compromising any information. Will that be a problem? No, it won't be a problem. The things you guys come up with is the things you worry about is kind of funny sometimes. It's not a problem. Relax about the 2 holes. Now, if you've got 3 holes in the document from a 3-hole punch, that's instant disqualification. Thank you, Brit Simon, for everything you do. Received my green card on November the 5th. Thank you for the videos you put. Oh, that's nice. Thank you for coming back and saying something to that. Football highlights, like I really want to answer a question from football highlights, depending on, you know, based on what happened with England. Not really, but anyway. I sent my DS260 on October 7th due to think it's late because my CN, yeah, it was late, right? But it's not going to be too late. It'll be fine. It'll be processed in time. Relax, okay? Fred from Ghana, and the winner of 2023, I selected a university degree whilst filling my DS260. Am I supposed to have my high school certificate and my university certificate? Yes. Now, look, you're from Ghana, right? If you're interviewing in Accra, it is essential that you properly prepare in Accra. In any embassy, really, but Accra is particularly bad at this. You want to make sure your DS260 is perfect, and that means you should list all of your education. You should list all of your living, your residence history, everything, all of your social media, everything. Fill it out perfectly, okay? Go to the interview with all of your documentation from all of your schooling, right? From age 12 and up. They want to see everything from age 12 and up, okay? Do yourself a favor, unlock if you need to, and make sure your DS260 is fully updated, okay? Can't stress it enough, especially as you're going to interview in Accra, okay? They just refuse too many cases for silly reasons, and having a DS260 that's properly prepared, that someone has shown they know how to read the bloody instructions, you know, that's going to help you, right? But if you go in there thinking, oh, this is going to be easy, it's not easy at Accra, right? There's too many people. Too many people are refused in Accra. It drives me nuts, but there's not much we can do about it. You just have to prepare well. Okay. Samuel from Africa wants a prediction. When should I expect my interview email? Tuesday, 2:45. Okay, and not this Tuesday. I'm saying it will be a Tuesday, and it'll be 2:45 in the afternoon. Okay, good prediction there for you. Thank you so much for all the information on DV. It really helped us much. We will fly US today. Oh my God, Loma, good luck. That's exciting. So exciting. I go back to when we moved to the USA. It's an amazing time. And it's been an interesting time. You know, we moved here in 2014. It's been an interesting time. Not all easy. It's pretty hard. So be prepared. Okay. Bill, Bill Miller says, I'm Fred from Ghana. Well, you're probably Bill. And we already went through this, but Bill or Fred, please stop spamming. You're repeating all the questions. That's kind of driving me nuts. Okay. Is the I-134 necessary? And what's your opinion on the Jerusalem MC? Okay, Jerusalem. First of all, the I-134, just prepare. I talked about that a few moments ago. As for Jerusalem, they don't do many DV cases, but when they do them normally, right. Nothing particularly bad or good to say about them. Just it's a normal experience, right? So should be fine. We're worried about this next visa bulletin. We're under accept in Algeria. No need to worry. It will all work out in the end. So I explained earlier why the accept cases, you can rewind for that, but why there are accept cases. But if all of the winners in Algeria had numbers between 1 and 25,000, for example, let's call it 30,000, right? If everybody in Algeria is between 1 and 30,000, and and they made everyone current as quickly as the cases, for the rest of Africa, can you not see that there would be far too many cases being made current in Algeria all of a sudden, kind of thing? I mean, it's just the fact that they want to spread it out. It's just not. It shouldn't be a surprise, really. There's a lot of winners from Algeria, relatively condensed in the lower case numbers. It's fine. No need to worry. Okay. Kofi just said the same thing I just said. Yep, absolutely, because that's made all the questions go by. So now, I'm now having to scroll past Bill's many questions here. So all the same question repeated. So don't do that again, please, Bill, Fred, whoever. I'm a winner from DV 2023. I want to go with my husband and kids. I don't work. My husband is. Is that going to be a problem? No. So your husband works. I want to go with my husband and kids. Yeah, your husband works, but you're the winner. That's fine. That's that's normal. That's fine. No problem with that. You're going as a family. Even though you're the winner, your husband's income is considered part of your general family income, and so the fact that he works and you don't, that's fine, no problem. Again, this is the weird things you guys find to worry about. Stuff that I generally find is perfectly normal, but for some reason you get worked up about it. I don't know why. How will they roll out people who applied twice? I think you mean rule out. I think they have a way to do that. They wouldn't have invented the passport rule. So the passport rule was always the passport. The passport rule was introduced in 2019, right? For DV 2019. It's actually 2018 during the middle of the 2019 year. They invented that way, that thing to reduce fraud, right? And then it got blocked by a court, and so in theory that fraud is allowed. However, it's very clear that they've always disqualified a bunch of cases, and generally speaking, although there are people with multiple entries, they don't really affect the system. The system will block a lot of those people. So you know, I think it would be better with the passport rule, to be honest. But the passport rule was very unfair to some people from some countries where the cost of obtaining a passport is considerable. And so, you know, to tell everybody that even to enter the lottery, they have to go through that cost, that seems a bit excessive. You know, when there's a 1 in 200 chance of being selected, right? So to tell all 200 people they have to go and get a passport even to enter the lottery, right? So I get why they did it, and I like that they did it, but I'm also glad that the passport rule was blocked. How do they rule people out? Well, there's lots of ways. There's some amazing technology around these days, and they can figure things out, right? That's all I'll say. I won't go into details on it, but they do rule people out. Okay, thank you so much for the information, DB. Really helped us. Oh yeah, we spoke to you earlier. Well, I answered your question earlier, Loma. Congratulations again. 2NL checking or confirming, is it only through email notification, or is there another once your CN is current? Again, Joanna, they send you an email saying, go check your ESC page. The ESC page is where you saw your selected letter. That letter goes, by the way, if you want to keep the selected letter, the original letter, you better download that into a PDF on your computer or something, because once it's replaced by the 2NL, you never can get back your original selected letter. So if you want to keep that for any reason, if you want to show it at the interview or at the medical, or just keep it, you know, download that before you get your 2NL, because you'll never get it again. So, you know, there's no other process to notify you about that. Okay. Can I remove block user? There you go. Oh, good. Well, that was good. I think I've just removed all Bill's stuff. Okay, you're a DV. Ahmed says, did we speak to you earlier? I'm a DV 2023 and divorced. My lawyer advised me to withdraw the money that I had in my bank account because my ex-wife is blackmailing me with so many lawsuits regarding unnecessary expenses for my child. Can I go to the embassy interview with my father's bank account? Yeah. Okay, so firstly, life lesson. Children need money, right? Mothers that try and support their children are doing things like buying them clothes, buying them food, taking them on, you know, for a nice visit to a restaurant once in a while. Those aren't expensive expenses, as you put it. Those are necessary things. Being able to buy them a book or, you know, entertain them, etc. So I hope you understand that. As a father, I hope you understand that, right? Don't begrudge your ex-wife the ability to raise your children properly, right? Just be grateful that she's doing that. Can you go to the embassy with your father's bank account? Yeah, you can, but your, you know, your divorce situation and what your lawyer is advising you really has nothing to do with the DV process. Ultimately, you've got to be sort of sorting that out yourself. But I'll say one more thing. I have 4 children. I have 1 child that lives with me now, and I have 3 children from a previous marriage. And I supported those children, even though I was living abroad. I made sure that they had everything they needed. And I hope you'll do the same, Ahmed, because if you're going to come to America and build a great new life and enjoy all the stuff that America has got, I hope you'll be planning to send the money back to your ex-wife and your, you know, to support your children, because that, you know, it's, don't expect somebody else to do it. It's for you to do, right? DV winner 23. I'm already in the United States on F1 visa. Is it easy for me with AOS? Yeah. AOS is a good way of processing. If you're in the USA on an F1 visa and you win the DV lottery, then why wouldn't you go through adjustment of status? The only thing I would say is you must not have broken any rules while you've been on F1. If you weren't entitled to work, you must not have worked. You mustn't have been out of status at any moment. Got to have followed all the rules. And if you've done all that, then yeah, you can adjust status. I did. It was pretty easy. Okay. Oh man, you're repeating your questions. Oh, don't do that. Randall, my birth certificate has 2 holes. Oh, we've already talked about this one. That was a funny one. Case number under 300 from Iran. Submission June, no to Anelia. Remember, Iranians, as well as having more time for background checking after the interview, they're going to have a slower process to process before the DS-260 is processed. So you've got to be patient. I mean, there's no way around it, right? The American government, for whatever reason, is concerned about the Iranian government, Iranians who may be agents of the Iranian government, who may wish harm against America, right? So, and Iran does nothing to cooperate with the USA. So everything that the USA wants to check about an individual is made more difficult because Iran won't cooperate, right? That's not America's fault, right? The fact that the Iranian government and Iranian regime are out there screaming death to Americans and not cooperating with America is not America's fault. That's the way I see it. And so unfortunately, that means it's going to take you longer to process. That sucks. I wouldn't have it that way, but I understand why it's that way. Okay. Okay. How long did the visa bulletin DV 2023 is December? What does that mean? You mean when's it going to be re-released? The new visa bulletin will be released in the next week, I would imagine. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what what that brings. What do you think about the visa bulletin speed? So far, it's been fine. I don't get excited one way or the other about the visa bulletin speed. For the first 3 or 4 months, it's not a big deal. After that point, yeah, it starts to become more important. What I don't want to see is for them to make all regions current as they did in 2020, 21, and 22. If they do that, it causes a problem, okay? And whilst you might be sitting there saying, oh, I'm waiting for all regions to be current, that to me would be a bad thing. It would show that they're not organizing the process properly. And it becomes a bad thing because low case numbers are supposed to have an advantage over high case numbers. So that gets ruined if they make everybody current, particularly when they haven't processed all the DS-260s for all the cases. So I certainly don't want to see them making all regions current or anything silly like that when there's no justification for them to do that, and also when they've not finished the processing. So I appreciate that they take some time with the visa bulletin. It's the right thing to do. Raid, I think it's all right. It would mean the world to us. Is COVID vaccine mandatory for immunization records we bring for the medical exam? It's part of the medical requirements, as are other vaccinations. But I'm also personally pro vaccination, COVID included, and I'm anti anti-vaxxers, right? So you won't find any support from me on not getting the COVID vaccine, right? Or not wearing the mask because of some stupid idea you've got, right? So, get the vaccine, and yes, it's required. But even if it wasn't required, it's required because you're not an idiot, I presume. And therefore you realize that the vaccine protects not only you, but also people around you and reduces the transmission of the COVID virus. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's perfectly safe. And why wouldn't you do it? Right? Protect those around you. If you want to come to a community like America. And you've got to try and do what you can for the community. We've got enough idiots in this country without adding to it, with people that won't protect others. So there you go. I listed YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and didn't list Discord, Viber, WhatsApp, Telegram. Should I unlock it and add it, even though it... oh my God. Should I unlock it and add it? Or is it enough to just list it in DS5535? Montreal interview. Right. So you mentioned the DS5535. You don't want... so Montreal are quite likely to ask for a DS5535, but you don't want your DS5535 to include information that you omitted from your DS260. So if there are accounts which you would have to list on a DS5535, then yes, unlock your DS260 and make sure the information is all there. If they then see the DS260 has all information, they're less likely to give you a DS5535. But you don't want those two things to be out of whack, because if you've neglected to put some information on the DS260 as proven when they see the 5535, they're going to say, okay, what else did this guy not tell the truth about? Right? You don't want to give that impression. So, yeah. Okay. I'm scrolling down past a bunch of repeated questions. Namaste from Nepal. 19th May, case number under 4800, 2NL. Yeah. Right, so you filled 24 entry as well. Will that be a problem? No, that won't be a problem. You're a 2023 winner, but you're from Nepal. You're just going to have to be a little patient. It's a bit surprising that they haven't processed some early May submissions, but it's not completely surprising, right? It just takes a little bit of time sometimes, okay? So just wait, and hopefully you'll be processed soon. In my DV entry form, I selected vocational school on accident. I have a normal high school diploma. I wrote it that in my DS260. Would it be a problem at interview? No, not really. The DV entry information, I don't think they really will look at that drop-down list. The drop-down list that shows your education is more statistical analysis. They want to know, of the 20 million people that enter, what's the education? What sort of selection of people are entering the lottery? They want to know whether the people entering the lottery are on average smarter than the US population or more educated than, or are they less educated than the US population? The requirements of the DV lottery mean that a selectee, a winner, should be at least as well educated or has enough skills more than the average American, right? That's basically how it's set up. So, so that's all. That's the only reason they collect that information. It's not there. It's not going to be used against you in your interview. Okay, so relax about that. Okay, a couple more questions, then we'll call it a day. DS260 in May, November asked KCC when I could get interviewed, but they said my case is current for interviews. I wrote to Nairobi that they said they don't have my case. What happens next? Right, your embassy won't get your case until KCC sends them the case. So the embassies don't know anything about any of the selectees until the 2NL is sent out, until the interview is scheduled, right? So there is generally no point in writing to the embassy, first of all. You asked in November, and then they said you're current for interviews, right? If you got the response that says current for interview processing, it means that they have put you into a batch of people who are planning to be scheduled at that embassy. It can be that you're going to get your interview, your 2NL, very quickly after that, within 2 to 3 weeks after that. After that point, excuse me. However, in some cases, if the embassy only has capacity for 100 people, or 100 interviews, and there are 200 people in that same status as you, then those 100 people are going to be moved on to the next month, right? The extra 100 people that can't be fitted into the embassy in the first month, right? So it means that you could be pushed to a later month, and that's called the AVQ. AV status and a queue of people, AVQ, right? And so you just have to wait and see what happens. But hopefully you'll get your 2NL very quickly after the VB is released, the visa bulletin is released, which will be this week. So I would expect you normally to get your 2NL in the latter part of December, right? After the visa bulletin is released in the next few days. Okay, so fingers crossed. Brian, would you let me know, please, once you get your interview, because I'm getting kind of interested in seeing. I want to try and build up an idea of whether there are AVQs at any embassies, and Nairobi is one of the ones that I would be, considering could be a risk for that. Okay. I applied as a single applicant, but I want to add my wife to the DS260 after marrying her early next year. I'm from Ghana. Is that going to reduce my chances of getting a visa? Generally, no. The earlier you marry, the better, right? Now, Ghana is, a place where they're worried about all sorts of fraud. So you better have really good proof about why you're marrying this particular girl. If you've been dating her for a long time, if you've got good family relationships, if you have a large wedding with lots of family in attendance, and you've got photos of all of that, and you've got proof of your relationship, then there isn't really a problem. But if you just met this girl and you get married, in Ghana, they would just be assuming that that's going to be a fraud, right? And so you've got to be a bit careful. So don't marry someone if there's not a real relationship. If this is some sort of fraud, like someone has offered you, to pay thousands of dollars if you'll just marry their sister or whatever and take the sister to America, don't do that. It's the fastest way I know to lose your opportunity, because they'll figure that out, and they'll just basically put you on a banned list for life. You could also get charged with immigration fraud, but the most obvious thing is you'll just be banned for life from America. So it's not a good idea. Don't do that. Okay. Hang on a minute. Hi, Britt. I'm the principal applicant, but I made a mistake. I put my husband's previous relationship status as none, yet he's divorced. Oh, he is divorced. Yeah, I would unlock for that. You're the principal applicant. It's probably not going to cause a problem because it's only derivative spouse. But nevertheless, let's get that right. It's worth unlocking for, because that's significant. And at the interview, you need to take his divorce papers from the previous marriage. Okay. You don't want to hide any of that information. That's not good. Okay, let me see if I can find a good question. Okay, Kesab, I was selected for DV 2023, and after that I applied for the F1 because I didn't want to take a year gap but got rejected. Does this hamper my chances in for the DV visa interview? Your DV win probably added to the reasons why you were rejected for the F1. The F1 visa is a non-immigrant visa. The DV visa is an immigrant visa. So when you go for a non-immigrant visa interview, one of the things they're worried about is that, do you have any intention or interest in emigrating to the USA? And are you therefore, if you apply for a non-immigrant visa, are you going to try and overstay your visa and stay in America? Well, at the time you applied for the F1, you already had the DV win. So they know very well that you've got interest in emigrating to the USA. So I'm not surprised your F1 was denied. However, does that denial cause a problem for DV? No, it doesn't. If that was the reason for the denial of the F1, that doesn't affect your DV case. If you were denied for some other reason, then there's a possibility it could affect the DV case, but that's generally quite rare. The most common reason that non-immigrant visas are rejected is when the officer suspects that you have intention to emigrate to the USA. And frankly, winning the DV lottery, and you probably submitted your DS-260, that's proof that they were right. Okay. I call it a day there. I think that's probably it's probably as many as I can take today. Thank you for your questions today. Some of them were quite funny and interesting. So it's always a good, fun way to answer, spend my Sunday morning. But thanks for listening in with me, and please do subscribe to the channel and watch out for some videos I'm going to be releasing in the next few days. There should be some interesting ones, including the frying pan one. All right. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye now.